Tim made a good point last night when we were talking about some of the Republicans not being there for Trump, like that they're just using him to get Supreme Court nominees, get a few things, and then happy to see him go. And now they've packed not packed the court, but got some Republicans in there, some conservatives, I guess you would call them, which Republicans aren't even necessarily have to be conservative.
Not anymore.
Trump's always been fighting the establishment on the right, establishment on the left. And in fact, Trump isn't the network of people tired of the uniparty, tired of the corporatists, tired of the globals. We are the ones that launched Trump. It wasn't that Trump was some amazing politician and he's like some amazing orator. It's that we picked him and we catapulted him. Grassroots effort, people donating their time and energy and, becoming part of this whole movement. It's a movement that launched Donald Trump to the top. And whatever happens to Donald Trump, that movement's still going to be there.
Right.
And that movement is against and anti towards the establishment. So the establishment hates Trump, hates all of us, and wants to see us all squashed.
And it's not just the idea of establishment, it's this specific establishment that's like been corrupted by, if it's a global monetary obsession or like this desire to prevent World War III through military coercion. Hi Betsy.
Betsy's here.
It's an improper establishment that I think I'm against anyway. I'm not like anti-establishment in general. I just don't like this current.
Come on,
problem.
You're wearing pajamas.
If we could build an establishment, if we could establish a functional,
You're not anti-establishment, so that means you're establishment.
Well, if
you're not actively anti-establishment,
right.
sir,
you are pro-establishment.
Exactly.
We are anti-est.
I'm anti-est. I'm anti-this est.
Anti-est.
But I'd like to establish something valid, where the votes are tallied in plain sight, where we can trust each other, where there's no war, where humanity has enough food.
The votes are tallied in plain sight. The anomaly here is that specific votes weren't tallied in plain sight.
Well, they're tallied on a computer program.
Yes, and that's part of it.
Proprietary one. Oh, here she comes.
So we have a full hand recount coming in Georgia.
Yeah, we do.
Now, is that a recount or is that a recanvass or is that an audit?
Everything.
They're going to look at each ballot, or
Secretary
they're just
of State said everything. He said recount, an audit, and a recanvass.
Oh, boom! There you go.
We'll see. Some people are saying they're still going to, after they segregate them, run them through the scanners. But look, man. It's always been insane that we use proprietary software to do our elections. It should be open source and the code should be available on the web, and we should be able to load up that code in real time as they're sliding those ballots in. So we can all watch.
Yes.
The only reason they would want to hide anything is because days of cheating.
Mm-hmm.
Open source is safer in many instances, right? Because people get to test it.
It's not so much about you wouldn't be able to. I guess one of the challenges is that these machines aren't supposed to be connected to the internet at all. And therein lies a serious problem. If they are, they can be exploited remotely. But if they aren't, then they can be exploited before and then activate the exploits after. So we had this glitch in Michigan, and the company is saying, no, it was human error. The 6,000 votes that were for Trump but went to Biden, that was human error. But we're seeing similar numbers across the board.
So you think that if Trump is the one that rejects the outcome, certified outcome, constitutional outcome, that one of the first signs that we would see is what? Total shutdown of all social media? Yeah.
Well, I think in any capacity, I don't know if we're ever going to get anywhere near that, but I'll put it this way. Before we get into this really out there conversation.
Oh.
We're talking about Trump going to war. Let me just say.
Warning.
There was a period on Saturday when they called it for Joe Biden, where it seemed like everybody just agreed Joe Biden wins.
Just for a few
and
minutes.
There were Trump supporters who seemed to be stopping and looking around to check the temperature. There were certain personalities I won't name who were kind of like not,
Are we fighting this or not? Right? Is it
right.
Yeah.
Are we all just going to lay down and let them run in, or are we going nuts? And then now you can see. I don't want to call anybody out specifically because I know there's a lot of people who watch, but some TV people, some TV personalities really seemed like they were gearing up for laying down their sword until they saw the likes of Don Jr. and people like Sebastian Gorka and other high-profile Trump-supporting personalities went charge. Then all of a sudden, the fair weather Trump supporters were like, yes, of course.
They were waiting for their cue.
Yeah.
Well, they wanted to make sure they weren't going to be jumping in with on the sinking ship.
That makes sense.
Yeah, unsupported. So it's an information war, and you got to have all kinds of information weapons, and you have foot soldiers and infantry and people in the trenches, grassroots, crowdsourced, meme makers, influencers, spontaneously erupting, canvassers and etc. And you need like artillery cover for your ground troops, man, in an information war. And the way that you do that is by getting out there in front and laying down the narrative, and then also supporting people that are victims in the information war, which is something that I've heard as a criticism from the Trump administration, that they did not protect people who were victims in the info war.
Yep.
And they should have done a better job of that. And it does make it hard to attract quality people and retain quality people if you're not going to protect them in this information scuffle. But at least Don Jr. and them going out big time was enough to just rally the troops and have everybody go, which no matter what the outcome, we have a nation worldwide open source intelligence operation underway, perhaps like nothing we've ever seen before, comparable to COVID, but just in a presidential election, it's the first time it's ever happened like this. And you know what? If everybody's working on it and they're all thinking about it and the answer is that he has lost, I feel like everybody, knowing that they've spent all their powder, can accept that. But not until then.
I think at the very least we have to try. We have to make sure when accusations or allegations come up, we clear the air because we're hyperpolarized.
Yeah.
So under normal circumstances, if it was like, if it was 2016 and Hillary started screaming about the Russians, it's like, okay, we'll entertain this, we'll look into it. Then they went kind of nuts with it for several years, and now I'm like, hey, if you're going to do the Russian thing, we're going to do the vote fraud thing. End of story.
Exactly.
But ultimately, the point is, if you're this polarized, the last thing you want to do is say, we refuse to listen to you, do as we say and submit.
Exactly.
Because then people are going to be like, no. Yep. There's a chance for cooperation. All right, we heard you. There may be some fraud. We're going to treat this fairly. We're going to do a recount and an audit to make sure that this is right. And if you lost, accept it. And that really will defang any aggression. There'll still be some people who are like, no. But ultimately, that's what has to happen. But so they're not doing that, though.
Right. As Don Jr. set the tone for their network, Charge, Joe Biden sets the tone for his network, saying office of the president-elect, and just running with it and starting to float names for
propaganda
cabinets
war.
and et cetera. So they're clearly not taking the approach of, this is how it's supposed to be. There's a period for legal challenges. And even if that gets screwed up, hey, it's written down and agreed to that the state legislatures can slate whatever electors that they want, basically. So that's all normal. It's unusual, but it's all legal. It's all part of the system.
I don't even think it's unusual. It's that the media has created this perspective for a generation where it's, we call the election. Look at what the New York Times tweeted. You see what the New York Times tweeted? It's the job of the media to call the presidential election.
Yeah, I screen capped that immediately, knowing that they were going to delete that. That was insane. They're like, only the media declares the winner, and we're going to explain how. Thread, like 1/X, and then it got deleted real quick.
Right.
That's a good one.
This is normal. What's happening? There's an election. They're tallying the votes, and they have not certified them. But the media has created a perspective that it's supposed to be them who calls it. And when they do, it's over. That's how it's always been. We're in charge. Yep. Trump says, we still have till certification. The normal process is the process in the Constitution. It is weird to me that we have a contested election, even if it looks like Trump is going to lose, and the media is saying, shut up and submit. Stop saying this. Yeah. I look at CNN. They ran this video where they're like right-wing individuals putting out misinformation that Trump could still win.
Right.
It's crazy because it has never been this obvious. I feel like we're watching that cartoon character trying to plug the holes in a ship as the water is spraying through. Dude, I don't know if Trump is going to win. The votes are in Joe Biden's favor, but the normal process is legal challenges, and Trump has them. So at the very least, you don't say Trump can't win. Well, it's starting to change, though. Vox.com published an article saying, it's not likely, but Trump could win these ways. And then they list out like 3 different ways Trump could actually win through a normal legal process, not a coup.
Right. I can't remember any time in my lifetime that the state legislatures have slated electors that didn't reflect the will of the people in their state. Has that happened?
I mean, if we go back to the 1800s, there's weird elections.
Yeah.
Like we talked about this a little bit the other day. So there's a really weird election where it was tied in the Electoral College. So they just appointed a council of Democrats, Republicans, judges, and lawyers or whatever to just like convene and decide who the president would be.
Like a Pope thing.
And that's what they did. And they were like, all right, well, here, we agree. And actually, the concession, I believe this ended the Reconstruction era, because basically they felt like they were on the verge of another civil war. So they said, okay, how about the presidency goes to the Republican, but we'll give you a bunch of stuff. And they said, fine. And then that ended Reconstruction, created a Democrat stronghold in the South for generations to come. And then that is ultimately what resolved this. The interesting thing is, apparently, there's an article that says, a deal with Trump to leave the White House. Trump doesn't care, he doesn't want it.
Yeah.
There's rumors that you'll be a kingmaker, you can run PACs, you can do all these things once you leave. And Trump's like, no, I'm president.
Right. And do you think, Tim, truly, that even if it goes all the way through all the courts and everything, and maybe it even gets to the point where a decision could be made by the Supreme Court that would affect the outcome, and it still doesn't fall his way, you think that when everything is exhausted, what's he going to do?
Trump?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I do. He'll bow out.
I don't know. Because
he's too good of a person to screw things up like that, I think.
I don't know.
I agree. I don't think that he will stay on an extrajudicious way.
I don't know what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
There's an article from the Washington Post that says there's a massive behind the scenes effort to stop Trump right now, as if we didn't know that, they've been doing this for years.
Right.
The massive behind the scenes effort to stop Trump at every cost. Now they're saying I think Brennan said Mike Pence must invoke Amendment 25 and remove Trump before he does something. It's like he's still the president.
Right.
But they're worried. Don Jr. tweeted, declassify it all. So,
please do.
That'd be
perfect.
Right. And they're freaking out because they've been trying to stop him at all costs. So here's the question. You look at Russiagate, you look at Obamagate, and you look at this very clear and terrifying instances, the evidence that's come out so far. I wouldn't say is definitive proof of a massive criminal conspiracy, but it's circumstantial evidence that we need probably a special prosecutor and a hard investigation, maybe, $27 million or whatever, to go through it. You have these notes from the FBI saying, what's our goal? To get Flynn fired or prosecute. You have the notes where they're talking about, Joe Biden mentioning the Logan Act. What they're doing right now, what Biden is doing right now, is a violation of the Logan Act.
Indeed.
Joe Biden is contacting foreign governments saying he's the president, and the election's not even over yet.
Why?
We haven't even gone to certification, and he's calling foreign governments.
Okay, two things. One, I've been seeing that clip from the debates where Wallace asked them both point blank, will you, concede once the election has been certified? Trump gives a long rambling answer, but in the middle he goes 100%. But then he goes into his whole thing about dispute, anticipating this. And at the very end, Wallace asked Biden the very same question, and Biden goes, absolutely. That question was more like, will you wait to claim the presidency or whatever until certification is done? And he said yes, and he's clearly not doing that.
He's not.
Now. Yeah.
The fact that he's putting together a transition team, the fact that he said he doesn't need approval from the government to do what he's doing. They went after Michael Flynn for the Logan Act. Well, they ultimately got him on lying.
But hold on, let's back up. Earlier when we were off the air, you were mentioning the fact that Trump has instructed his, cabinet chiefs and folks to prepare the budgets as if he's going to be president.
Yeah.
That's the same thing as Biden opening the office of the president-elect. They're just both, they're both moving forward as if they're going to be the victors. Yeah.
The difference is Trump is within his legal right to tell them, prepare your budgets for this coming, season. And arguably by their own standard, they argued Michael Flynn should not have been contacting Kislyak, the Russian ambassador, before Trump was inaugurated. Right. He was only acting national security advisor. Therefore, for Joe Biden right now to be contacting foreign leaders and discussing, I guess what he did was he contacted the UK and said, don't screw up a peace deal with Ireland or something like that over Brexit, because now I guess Ireland wants to go EU, something like that's going on, and I'm immediately seeing people tweet out Biden just violated the Logan Act. Lock him up.
I feel like they bring up the Logan Act every time there's a transition like this.
And it's ridiculous because it's not really a violation. We expect the president-elect and his administration to start preparing for entering office.
Yeah.
But they went after Trump in this way. So anyway, I bring this up because if we're talking about I don't know what you'd call it, a conspiracy, since the beginning of the Trump administration to sabotage his administration and his presidency. And now they're actively trying to do it again. At what point here's the conundrum. You look at the information we have available to us. If you only read or watch mainstream news, then you believe everything's been fine. Russiagate was fine. It's too bad for Trump. Oopsie. And then, Joe Biden wins the presidency. But if you are paying attention to the bigger picture and you know about the Obamagate allegations and the evidence that's been released, and you can see that these people have been engaging in malicious activities for quite some time, at what point do you say what they are doing is the coup and not Trump?
Well, exactly. And if you watch The Plot Against the President, a fantastic movie directed by Amanda Milius, a former Trump political appointee, daughter of John Milius, the director of Apocalypse Now, Red Dawn, and a few others. She laid out a very compelling story showing how the Democrats have been screwing with Trump this whole time, all the lies, all the plotting, all the scheming, all the everything. And if you see that and you watch it, and it's all based on documents that were submitted to Congress, right, and testimony from people in Congress, if you watch that, then there's absolutely no surprise to see or think if someone says, hey, do you think the Democrats might try to screw with the election? It makes perfect sense.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. We do the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. So come back to check us out when we go live. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification bell. And we are also available on all podcast platforms for free if you want to listen to us there. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you all next time.